This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping at the wall, it's gone! A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judging it blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Boy, do we have an interesting show for you today here on A's Cast Live. A lot of changes. They needed to happen. They have happened, and we are going to break it down. Martín Gallegos from MLB.com is with us. Coming up here in a little bit, we'll have Mason Miller, Scott Franzke of the Phillies, who, by the way, are red hot. They have the best record in the National League. They have won 7 straight. Their rotation is 6-0 with a 2.85 ERA during that time. They are smoking hot. A little note for you, too. They're beating up on the bad teams, 19-3 against teams that are sub 500. So wow. Phillies coming to take your lunch money. What are you going to do about it? We're going to have Mark Kotsay is going to join us, and Darrell Taylor, who is an MTV and a former boxer right up your alley, Saxy.
Love it.
He'll be here to throw. He's throwing out the first pitch. We'll talk to him. But Martín Gallegos, we woke up today. We heard rumblings last night.
Yep.
There were going to be changes. We woke up today to 11 changes to the roster. 11.
Yeah, it's wholesale, right? I mean, it's completely different from what we saw yesterday. And I think, part of it was when you're going through a stretch like this, something's got to change, right? Not necessarily J.J. Bleday and Seth Brown's fault that this is happening, but they're just kind of casualties of a bigger issue that's been going on here with obviously bad, stretch of games here. And I think injecting some new life into here with a lot of young guys who are performing well at AAA, maybe give them a fresh start here, a fresh look here, and see if they can get things going.
Yeah. What do you see as far as, this whole thing continuing? Do you think this is going to be the end of some of these changes? Does it depend on how they play and how this, parses out? Or do you think they have in mind to do even more than this?
I think it just depends on how they play. If they go out there tonight and win a game and get a streak going here or get a nice stretch of games going, maybe this is kind of the set group for a while. If they don't perform well and then maybe some of these guys look overmatched, then maybe they got to, think about looking at some other avenues to make some moves. But I think it was clear that something had to be different. And, we'll get to see a couple of exciting prospects up here right now with Denzel Clark, obviously, and even Logan Davidson, who's kind of a feel-good story in this organization. They'll both get a chance to play here soon and see if they can contribute and kind of help this team turn things around.
Yeah. All right, let's quickly go over it. So you got Denzel Clark, Willie McIver, Logan Davidson, C.J. Alexander, and Jacob Lopez all coming up from AAA. J.J. Bleday, Johnny Pareda, Carlos Duran are all sent down to AAA. Seth Brown DFA'd, Zach Geloff to the 60-day IL, and Gio Urshela with the left hammy goes on the 10-day IL. Denzel Clark, we have heard so much about him. On this show, his athleticism has been compared to Bo Jackson, Devon White, just some of the great athletes. What are your expectations? He's in the lineup. He's in the 9-hole, and he's playing center.
Well, I think elite defense is the first thing that's my expectation. This guy is incredible. He goes out there and gets it. We saw it in spring training. He's ready to play center field in the major leagues right now. And like you said, Ed Sprague, director of player development, he wasn't shy about talking about how good he is on defense. He said he could win a Gold Glove in the majors right now. That's how good he is. From the glove to the arm to the amount of range he could cover. He's fast out there. So I think defense is obviously the main point that's why they brought him up here. J.J. Bleday is on top of, some offensive struggles, has struggled a little bit in defense, a lot of balls out there kind of, getting away from him. So at least with Clark, that you're going to get really great defense, and his bat's been improving at AAA as well. He's drawing more walks. His strike zone recognition has gotten better. He's obviously got a ton of power and speed. Those are kind of the standout tools, but he's a guy who got a late start to baseball. And growing up in Canada, he didn't start playing until I think he was a teenager. So he's got the physical tools for it. You see him out there. He looks like a linebacker out there. But, the guy, when he hits one, it goes far. So maybe the glove is a little bit ahead of the offense right now, but he's an exciting talent regardless, and exciting to see him get his major league career going here.
Yeah, Martin, how about in the catching position? Paraded down and MacGyver up. MacGyver's 389 right now in AAA. I mean, but he's mostly known, isn't he, for his catch and throw?
Yeah.
You add some offense into that. That's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, I think that was a situation more like MacGyver kind of forced his way here with the way he was hitting. Obviously, you mentioned the numbers that he had down there. And Johnny Pareda, while he was, catching guys, pretty well, the numbers just weren't there offensively. And I think with MacGyver, again, a fresh start here to get a different look behind there. He's a guy who's, you look at him, if you guys ever get a chance to talk to him, he's an infectious personality, always smiling, very positive guy, which this team might need right now. Obviously, going through a 9-game losing streak, you want those kind of guys who kind of come in and rub off on the group. And, I saw him today, he saw me, remember me from spring training, excited to be here. All these guys who they called up are excited to be here. And sometimes, you inject a little bit of positivity in here, maybe get things going. But yeah, MacGyver, he earned his way here just with the numbers that he was posting down there.
You said it right there. Inject some positivity in here. That's what you're kind of hoping the change makes, right?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, these guys weren't going through the losing streak, right? They're down in AAA. They're playing well. I think AAA, I mean, all their teams in the minors are playing really good baseball this year. I think AAA is no different. They've been having a good year down there, and they're playing well. So, maybe bring some of that energy up here and see if things can change.
Talking to manager Kotsay before this, he's handled this really well.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to do a lot of different angles for this. He's got to be a father figure to him. He's got to draw the line between that and being the professional. He's got to tell him the good news, the bad news. He's got to set examples. He's got a lot to do besides make out a lineup. This is a tough time in some regards and a great time in others for the people that are coming here.
Oh, yeah, no question. He's had to go through a lot in his tenure here, right? And now this year, obviously, the expectations are a little bit higher. They're expecting to compete. And so when you hit a stretch like this, especially when they were just going really well 2 weeks ago, now it's kind of like, managing that storm and trying to get things back on track, getting the ship back on track, right? And I think he's done a really good job of that. I think the players are still, obviously they're bought in. They love him. They want to win for him. And, I think it hits them hard that they're going through the stretch right now because they know, he's been out there in front of this thing, preparing them for this moment. And now, they're going through a little bit of a struggle. It's nothing necessarily that he's doing wrong, but he's the one that has to kind of be out there, trying to steer the ship correctly. So it's a tough spot for sure.
Yeah, it is.
May 14th, this ball club was 22-20.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't that long ago things were going well.
Nope.
So now you see why there needs to be change. Obviously, I mean, the Gio Urshela, to me, not that big of a deal. Zach Geloff is still alarming that he's not able to play. Seth Brown, there wasn't a position for him anymore. It's the J.J. Bleday. I mean, J.J. Bleday, when you have a center fielder last year that had 43 doubles, that's one of the highest totals in the history of this organization.
Yeah.
History. We're talking Philly, Kansas City, Oakland. This was an incredible 43 doubles for a center fielder with 20 home runs. Yeah. You thought you found your guy for the future, and you're sending him to AAA. That's really the biggest story here.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and we just talked to Kotsay pregame about that, and he talked about I asked him what was the message sending him down, and he said Bleday kind of relayed to him that there was a lot of voices in his head. We got through these struggles, and he's starting to listen to outside voices. Here's how you fix this. Here's how you get back on track. When he went through the stretch of success last year, but I think because he was getting so down this year and wanting to perform, it just dug himself a deeper and deeper hole. And now it's kind of a point where let's go down to AAA, reset, work on some adjustments that we were trying to have you work on here. It's better to go through that at the minor league level instead of up here where we're trying to win ball games right now. If this was 3 years ago, if this was even last year, maybe we see Bleday get him more of a chance to kind of work through these struggles. But I think it's reached a point where it's best for him to get down there, hit the reset button, and have some success. Obviously, AAA, Las Vegas, it's easy for guys to have some big numbers up there. So maybe he could go down there and get his confidence back just by hitting some balls well. Because I think the at-bats were looking slightly better as of late. Still not great. I mean, he had some rough ABs yesterday, but I think he was working on some adjustments that were starting to lead to a little bit more, maybe a light at the end of the tunnel. But I think right now it's about getting him down there and just let him reset things, catch his breath, and see if he could turn things around. Because obviously last year, I mean, we saw how good he was. He was Mr. Consistent for them.
Yeah. And on the other side, maybe a feel-good story with Logan Davison. Yeah. This guy's been around a while, top draft choice, started as a shortstop, super utility now. Probably earned his way too, I would say, here and now. And this is a good thing of a guy that had to stick to it all these years. Now he's getting a shot.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that you root for sure. I mean, 2019 first-round pick, usually the trajectory of a first-rounder, those guys come up pretty fast, right? Yeah. He's had to grind his way. He was stuck at AA for a long time and then finally moved up to AAA, and he's kind of reinvented himself. At first, he was a shortstop, only playing shortstop. People were comparing him to Corey Seager. That's how good this guy was coming out of Clemson, and just the success wasn't there. He had some injuries as well that he dealt with, but now he's a switch hitter who can play all 7 positions, outside of pitcher and catcher. He does it all, and he does it pretty well. And he can come off the bench if you need him. Maybe that's probably going to be his role here to start, come off the bench wherever you need him, wherever you need a spot. He can play all around the infield, all around the outfield, get you an at-bat against lefty or a righty. So, he's done a really good job. I know the organization loves him, and, he's a guy who's had to grind to get here. So I think that was probably one of the more rewarding calls that this front office has made for Logan Davidson, just because he saw those guys. These guys who were here, Lawrence Butler, Zach Geloff, Shea Langoliers, Jacob Wilson. He was teammates with all these guys at some point in the minors, and he got to see them all get that call. And I'm sure it was tough for him as much as he was happy for them. He wanted to get that call. Now he gets that call, so he gets a chance to perform.
Yeah, this is a big rarity in our game, right? I mean, we all remember when he was drafted. His first interview was right on this show, A's Cast Live. They brought him over after batting practice. Scott Boris's agent was there. It was a big deal, and to think that all this time has gone by, when we're looking at whether it's C.J. Alexander, it's Logan Davidson, it's Max Schumann. One thing that this team was built on was slug. They kept telling us that, slug and home runs. They weren't built on defense. Are we going to see much with Davidson? As you said, can play everywhere. Schumann can play everywhere. Alexander can play a lot of different places. Are we just going to see an overall better defensive team now?
I think so. I think these guys, the moves that were made today, forefront was defense. I know, Blade and Brown were struggling with the bat, but I think there's a sense here. The numbers don't lie. You look at the numbers, analytics, the defense has been bad, and there's no way to put it. They've been one of the worst defensive teams in baseball. They got to get better. And, Davidson, Clark, these guys come with a track record of defensive success. Davidson all over the place, Clark at center field. I think that's the big one, is seeing Clark in center. I think whoever hasn't watched him play center field yet, you're gonna enjoy watching him. He really gets after it. Yeah. He'll track down a lot of balls that you don't expect to. He makes the type of plays that can help you win ball games by saving runs with his defense. So I think that's the big key for him.
And especially up the middle, that's very much known in baseball, to have that strength up the middle in center field, second. I think that Jacob Wilson's doing a phenomenal job defensively at second base. You're solid at second, or at shortstop, you're solid at second. And if you don't lose anything with MacGyver coming, and you add that offense that he brings along, this is only going to be beneficial and a plus for the team.
Yeah, no question. So I think, defensively, we talked to Force about it earlier today. I think with Clark, whatever he provides you on offense, I think it's mostly just a bonus. This team can hit. We've seen it yesterday, another 10 hits or whatever and 10 walks. It's about the defense and trying to shore that up.
We talked to Mark Kotsay on the Mark Kotsay Show, brought to you by Folsom Lake Ford, and, the organization is in an interesting spot. They want to win. They spent money, but there's still development going on. Right, it's completely different from what you got with the Phillies. Phillies, it's all in. It's about winning. So it's it's kind of like a tough spot. We want to win, we spent money, want to get better, but yet we got these young players still trying to figure it out, and it's still about the future. So it's an interesting spot.
It is, because they created this expectation for them last year. Obviously, they played well at second half, playing over 500 ball, and they set the expectation that things are going to be different this year. But at the same time, we talked about this the other day I was here. These guys are going through their second full years in the big leagues. There's still a lot to learn. They're still going through their ups and downs. As much as you want to see them just be consistent, from here on for the rest of their careers, it's just not going to happen. They're going to go through these struggles. A lot of these guys are still developing. Nick Kurtz is still developing. Jacob Wilson, as good as he is still developing. Lawrence Butler even is still developing. All these guys, for the most part in that lineup, are still not the best version of themselves that they're going to be at the big league level. They're still growing, still getting better. And with those growing pains, you just got to take those losses as they come. Obviously, you don't want a 9-game losing streak. That's a little extreme, but they're going to have their ups and downs. So now it's about just kind of having this group at the major league level mesh. They're here now, and they're ready to play here now, but they just got to go through those struggles.
And this is what always scares me, is when people fall in love with teams in spring training, or you fall in love with them in the second half.
Yeah. Because,
and I talk about it all the time, and baseball people don't like to talk about this. They don't like to talk about expectations, right? That's why we are, it's early. Right? That's what I always loved about football. Every game matters. Yeah. Every single game in the NFL matters. Every you win, you lose. Baseball tries to blow that stuff off, and that's why I was like, hey, it's great, those last 73 games. But all these teams that do well in the second half that don't have any expectations because they're already out of it, they're already 20-something games back, they're not playing for anything, they're bringing up young guys, and everything looks great. Yeah. But it's different when human beings now have pressure and there's expectations on day one for you to deliver. And this is a great example of this isn't August when you're 26 games out. This is the start of the year where you're supposed to win. You have to win. And it's mounted. This pressure is mounted on them.
Yeah, no question. I mean, there's higher expectations. Like I said, they created it for themselves, but it's like you said, it's different. It's different when you're starting the season out. The best teams kind of rise to the top at the beginning, right? And then at the second half, it's like some teams are already in play and clinch a playoff spot. They might be coasting a little bit, but they're going through the stretch right now that they got to find a way to climb out of it. There's not going to be any outside help, really. This is the group they have. Like, they can't. There's no magic fix that's going to get this thing going. They got to do it. It's going to be these players that are going to get the job done if they're going to do it.
And some guys are going to go at different times. It's not going to be the same, cadence through all these games with the players all at the same time. One guy I think that's kind of opening up right before our eyes is Nick Kurtz.
Yeah.
He's now not waiting to go deep in counts. That whole thing, well, you want to work the count. Not in the big leagues, not when you first come up, because they're not afraid of you about what you did in AAA. They're going to come up and they're going to challenge you. And I see him getting off now in the first and second pitch if it's in there, and he's hit some bombs out of here, and it's kind of changed his way that he approaches. And I think that's a great thing for Nick Kurtz.
Yeah, for me, that was that's kind of been the positive takeaway from these last 3 games, especially, is the emergence of him. I mean, he's looking like the player that we expected to see, right? The plate recognition and his ability to adjust to that so quickly, recognizing that guys are attacking him, and you know what, I got to swing early. I got to get off early and make it so that these guys pitch me differently. And now I think we're going to see a different game plan from these Phillies pitchers than we saw from the Angels pitchers, because they saw the film on him now. And that's the thing we heard from him. He's a special talent that he can recognize things quickly and adjust quickly, and we're seeing that right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see him move up that order pretty soon here and see him in the middle of the order, driving in some runs.
Yeah, Philly starters right now are 9-1 with a 2.7 ERA over the last 12 contests.
They're amazing.
And ever since Jose Alvarado got popped for PEDs, the bullpen is Jordan Romano's back to looking like he was in Toronto, and they're starting to close games out. So Philly's coming in here legit. I mean, this is. I think that's why it's one of the reasons why they made these moves, is because they know Philly's the best team in the National League right now, and so you had to do something. Miguel Andujar, and I know everybody wants him to play every day. We get the calls in the postgame show. Why is he sitting out? But you do have to. I mean, I know the injury history.
Yeah.
Is this just something that our fan base has to realize? You've got to pick and choose when to really step on the gas with him.
Yeah, no question. I think you saw it this spring, because last spring when he was going so well at the plate, he was playing every day in the Cactus League, and then all of a sudden he goes down with the injury. I think it was torn meniscus or something like that. He had to get surgery, and he was out for a while. And they knew that kind of injury history he brought already. And so this spring they were really cautious with him, not getting him on the field too much. He was getting a lot of DH time. And, that's something that they knew they were going to have to manage, and they're doing that right now. You got to keep him healthy. That's the first and foremost thing. If he's healthy, he's going to hit you close to 300. I mean, he's been hovering around 300 all year. But, I mean, the big thing with him is he does have an injury history, and you can't just expect him to go out there every day without, pulling something or maybe, a knee issue. It's part of it, comes with him. So just got to kind of deal with that. And they've got pieces around him to kind of fill in whenever he needs a day off for sure.
Martin, one of the guys that's been here that I think is so important, and you can't overlook his importance because it affects the whole batting lineup when he's right, and that's Lawrence Butler.
Yeah.
Having him at the top of the order and Jacob Wilson second and Soderstrom and on down the line is so much stronger than to have, Lawrence Butler down hitting 7th or 8th and trying to figure the rest of it out and everybody else out of place. He affects almost everybody in that order when he's on. This guy is just uber important to this team about him being right offensively.
Yeah, no question. I mean, we talked about that second half stretch they had last year. He was kind of the key that made everything go. He was the guy who got everybody going. Is the way he played. It's electric. He plays a lot of fun. And I know he's been going through some ups and downs this year. It's tough. There's obviously he signed that big contract this year. He had a goal of making the All-Star game in his hometown in Atlanta. I think that stuff kind of weighs on him personally when he's not, going at his best. And, he's done a good job of kind of managing those emotions, but he's still a young guy who's still learning. But, yeah, no question, he's the guy that they want at the top of the lineup. Him and Jacob Wilson, that's a great 1-2 punch when they're both hitting the ball well. And if Lawrence Butler can get it going, I think the A's will kind of go the way he goes. If he's on a hot stretch, I think the A's can get on a hot stretch. Yeah.
We made a lot of Luis Severino pitching at this ballpark. He threw the ball great yesterday. So can we relax?
I think so. I mean, that was another positive takeaway from yesterday. I know they lost, but to see him finally pitch a game here well, and he talked about throwing a bullpen in between sessions here on the mound, which I didn't realize was such a big deal for him, but I think he said it made him just feel a lot more comfortable throwing off the mound, kind of getting comfortable with the surroundings. He said it's a little bit of a different look from other major league parks just because it's so small. They just you can't really replicate that look anywhere else. And the results spoke for themselves, right? 6 innings, 2 runs. He kept them in check the whole time, and I think going forward, maybe it'll be a little bit less. His goal was for us to stop talking about the home stuff, and I think after that start, at least for the next one, we're not going to be wondering about that so much because he had this good outing.
Martin, trends of the game. Okay, I remember when I was playing and we had a guy like Luis Severino out there dealing, pitching well, and then as soon as he comes out of the game, there's this collective because now we have a different perspective. The next guy that comes in invariably, so many times they give it up, and I'm not saying it's our bullpen, although they've had some challenges. But it's just the overall, when that guy comes out, man, it's a new perspective. You got 3 innings now to kind of go get these other guys. And it happens so much. I mean, I would love to see Louis maybe stretch it out one more inning if he could, go to 115 pitches if that's possible. I would have loved to see it. I'm sure lots of people would.
Yeah, no, and he's the guy that's built for that, right? I mean, he's a guy who can easily go past 100. We've seen him do it before. I mean, I think his first start in Seattle, he went over 100. So, I mean, he's built for that type of thing. But, yeah, that's happened a couple times in the stretch. The Jeffrey Springs game, I think about in San Francisco, he was cruising 20 in a row. That gives up a hit, you take him out, and all of a sudden that game flips. Yesterday, the same thing. I know with Holman's been really good this year. I mean, that was it's kind of surprising to see him, not pitch well. I mean, he's not going to be perfect all the time, but that was kind of unexpected, I think, for the A's. Yesterday was interesting because Kotsay told us after the game he had it planned out for Mason Miller to pitch the last 2 games. I mean, he was prepared to pull out all the stops to stop that losing streak yesterday, and it just never got to that point, unfortunately. But, yes, I think Severino is a guy who, if you needed to push him an extra inning, no question he could do it for sure.
Yeah, we haven't seen Mason Miller since Saturday in San Francisco. We got to see Mason Miller. Right? He's going to be on the set, by the way, coming up here around 5 o'clock. We're going to have Mason Miller. Little programming note for you, but we need to not just see him on the show. We need to see him on the mound.
I think we'll see him this weekend. I can almost guarantee that. I mean, like I said, it's been almost a week. He's got to get his work in, and there's been some opportunities where he's gotten up and been warming up, and they just they haven't pulled the trigger on it. But I mean, we got to see him in a game here, and I think for a closer like him, you don't want to go too long without pitching because then that kind of affects you, maybe on the mound as well.
One thing during this losing streak, we kept hearing everything. Everything's good. Everything's good. Everything's good.
Yeah. Everything's
not good, right? and that's why all those moves were made today. Yeah. So it's like, everybody can say, oh, hey, everybody's fine in the clubhouse. Hey, we got confidence. We got, but it wasn't good.
Yeah, I mean, you look at 2 weeks ago before the stretch, they were 1.5 games out of first place. Now, what is it? 7 games back. I haven't checked it today, but it's been a fast fall.
I believe you are correct. I think it's exactly 7.
It's been a fast fall, and things change quickly in baseball. I mean, you're playing every day. There's no chance to kind of take a breath and figure things out. You have to figure things out on the fly, and if you don't, you're going to start losing ball games, and it starts to snowball like it has right now. So I think at this point they're at a point where it's just win one game, and just be able to breathe a little bit, and then keep it going after that.
I'll tell you what, Martin, I didn't see this coming with the Angels. I mean, I know they went down to L.A. and they handled them. Then they come here and sweep us. But at the start of the season, I'm thinking these guys are going to be, somebody that you kind of look forward to playing.
Yeah.
Every damn ball they hit was a missile.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't believe how many balls they were barreling up. And they did the same thing in L.A.
Yeah.
So what are they doing over there?
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite of what happened here, right? The A's got off to that good start, and now they're struggling. The Angels were struggling to start. Now they're swinging the bat. Well, I think with them, they got a really good lineup. It's a lot of guys that maybe you haven't, they're not household names, but these are a lot of young guys. They've got a young team with a lot of prospects that will come up, whether it's like Zach Neto or Logan O'Hoppe or even Jorge Soler. He's a veteran, but he can drive the ball really well.
Ward comes in here hitting a buck 90. He's hitting 240 now or whatever.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, he's got a ton of power, and he showed it this weekend. And they got a team that, I mean, we talked about a team that can slug. The A's are built to slug. The Angels are another team that's built to slug. They'll strike out a lot, but they'll slug. The one thing that surprised me about them was their bullpen. I mean, they shut this team down every single game. It was like the A's got to their starters, but every time the bullpen came in, it was just lights out, whether it was Jansen or any other guys before him. So that's one of the issues that I think the A's have to shore up here is scoring those runs late and take a little bit of the pressure off that bullpen, because we all know the bullpen numbers, they've been bad. There's no way to put it, but they also haven't been able to take advantage with runs in scoring position in the late innings, especially. It's been kind of glaring for them.
I want to tell you something that I saw a little bit earlier today. That's one of the great things about our little perch here at the ballpark is that we get to see kind of everything that's going on. And to see TJ McFarland pull all the pitchers together, right? It's a 35-year-old. With all these changes, something has to happen. there's going to be a lot of things going on, a lot of new guys, a lot of new chatter. As you said, there's going to be some positivity, but there's still got to be that veteran leadership to hold this thing together. And I think we're going to see that with guys like a Brent Rooker. Yeah. I saw it with my own eyes with TJ McFarland. I think the older players are very critical right now.
Oh, no question. I think, Brent Rooker is definitely the leader in there, especially from, the hitting group of guys. And I know Lawrence Butler told me the other day, he gave a speech the other day after the series in San Francisco. And, these guys, they've been around a little bit. Rooker only a few full seasons in the big leagues, but he's obviously been around, whether it's the minor league experience. And TJ McFarland, on the other hand, he's a, career, major leaguer for close to 10 years. So he's been around. He's been through these types of wins and losing streaks, and he knows kind of what to say in these moments. And I think this is a time where if you're a young pitcher or you're a young hitter, you kind of lean on those guys for guidance and to try to help you climb out of this thing.
Playing in the major leagues is an unbelievable, wonderful thing to do, but because of the way these guys battle, it's no fun when you lose. As a matter of fact, it can be a terrible place to be.
Yeah.
I don't see the culture being challenged, though, on this team. I think this team is very tight, and that supersedes a lot of these down times, and I think they're going to ride through this, and I don't worry about the culture on this team. I think these guys are like brothers.
Oh, yeah, no question. I mean, all these guys came up together pretty much. All this group that we're seeing now, I mean, they were all developing at the minor league level, and I think a large part of that, too, is Kotsay. Kotsay's created that clubhouse culture of, grinding every day. Don't worry about what happened the night before. Obviously, when you get into a streak like this, it's kind of tough to block those things out a little bit more, but I think I haven't seen 1 ounce of a guy like not giving it their all, not trying to, do their hardest to work through this thing and get out of it. And maybe sometimes it's a fact of trying too hard, maybe, but it's never a lack of effort with this team. I mean, ever since I've, covered the Mark Kotsay tenure, this team, it's kind of been a staple of that. Just, rise and grind is kind of his motto.
Yeah. Let's pause for station identification right here on A's Cast. Martín, thank you for the time. We appreciate it. Nobody has as much responsibility from a print standpoint covering a team than you.
No, I appreciate that, Tony.
Thank you.
I mean, it's fact.
Yeah, I try.
You have a lot of responsibility, and it's not easy. And I don't think enough people bring that up. The responsibility that you have and what you do for this fan base, it's second to none. No one in baseball has as much as you do. So keep doing what you're doing, man. We're watching, and we appreciate it.
I appreciate that, man. It's fun. It's fun covering this team, and I'm glad I got to come on your guys' set. This is awesome.
All right, coming up next, Mason Miller right here on A.
When it comes to knocking it out of the park, nobody beats Folsom Lake Ford. Folsom Lake Ford is a 7-time Triple Crown Award winner, Ford Motor Company's highest honor for being the best in customer satisfaction in sales, service, and finance. Step up to the plate for our biggest selection of new Ford models, including the legendary F-150, on sale now. Shop Folsom Lake Ford, your truck headquarters in the Folsom Auto Mall. FolsomLakeFord.com.
That ball is out of here.
Become an A's insider today. Visit athletics.com/newsletter and sign up to receive the latest team highlights, up-to-date news, features, and more, all delivered free to your inbox. That's athletics.com/newsletter.
Jacob Wilson sat down with Chris Townsend to share why the A's clubhouse believes they can win right now.
I think that we were talking about that in spring training, being able to, obviously we had some great signings that, great players come in, be able to lead the clubhouse, and then some extensions that we had, with the guys who called out last year. And, I think in spring training we were talking about, this is something we're excited for. And to be able to see it coming into full effect right now it's great, but, it is a long season, so we got to keep working every day and keep trying to go out there and get those wins.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/AceCast.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game time, schedules, and more.
Athletics reliever Hogan Harris joined Chris Townsend on A's Cast Live to break down challenges and adjustments required when transitioning between starting and coming out of the bullpen.
I'd say the biggest thing is there is still a routine. The difference is it's at 3 p.m. for a 7 o'clock game instead of right before the game. Like for me personally, I like to just go in, usually an hour before stretch or so, and then go get my body moving in the weight room, things like that. Get a crossword in, just kind of relax. Because at a certain point, that is kind of the fun part about the bullpen though, is that you never know. You really can't overthink it. You simply they're like, hey, you're in. I'm like, oh, all right, there we go. So you don't have time to overthink, you just kind of got to trust that, whatever you scouted for these guys, that's what it is. And then you just go in, and that is also a good thing. You're facing the guy once, maybe twice, instead of 3, maybe 4 times.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast. Calling all college and grad students. Grab your friends and head to the ballpark with this special offer. Save up to 50% off select regular season games throughout the 2025 season. Get your discounted tickets at athletics.com/student.
Streaming from West Sacramento, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Cody Elias, Steve Sax, Chris Townsend with you here. Mason Miller should be on his way over. They had meetings a little bit ago, and I saw our PR staff walking into the clubhouse when you guys were finishing up with Martín. So hopefully Mason Miller will be here mid-moments, and then Scott Franzke, the radio play-by-play voice of the Philadelphia Phillies, will join us. A lot going on with the Phillies. They've won 7 in a row. They're crushing everyone that's under 500. Zach Wheeler looks like he's the best pitcher in baseball. Yeah. A lot of good things if you're a Phillies fan. I can never root for them, never will root for them. I hope we sweep them. So
yeah,
it's going to be a fun series, though. So you get, Schwarber's here, Harper, but you get to see guys like Denzel Clark. I'm going to take a personal victory lap to Logan Davidson's now here because I've been willing him to be here for years, and now he's finally here. I just hope he gets a chance to play this weekend while we're up here.
And looking at what's happened, Townie and Cody, is that they're playing the best team in baseball, and they are on a downswing. The real pressure in some ways is not on them because this team is supposed to, go there and handle you. But on the other hand, the pressure is on them because it's 9 games.
Oh, the pressure's on.
It's 9 games.
Sax, the pressure's on.
Yeah.
You've lost 9 in a row. You just made 11 moves.
Mm-hmm.
The boat's taking on water.
Yeah.
There is some serious pressure on this team right now.
Yeah.
If you come out and get waxed 3 straight by the Phillies, which easily could happen.
Yeah.
Because once again, the Phillies are 19-3 against teams that are sub 500. That's the best record in baseball. So they're taking care of the teams that are not winning. If you walk out of this 10, 11, 12 game losing streak,
that's tough.
I'm saying this was a shot across the bow.
Yeah.
This is I'm not going to say Custer's last stand, but I mean, how much more can you fall?
It's bad.
Where we go into full development again.
It's already past that point, I think, with 9 games. But they have to come out and they have to thump these guys. And can they do it? Absolutely, they can do it. I've seen it happen before, where you're completely the underdog and you come out and just beat the tar out of somebody for 3 games, 3, 4, 5 games.
It just happened in LA with the Angels and the Dodgers.
Yeah, sure did.
And then the Angels won how many in a row now? 7?
7, yeah.
So, I mean, it could happen. I mean, easily they could.
Absolutely.
They could come in, Philly expecting to just walk all over the A's, and the A's win 3.
Right.
Then they go into Houston for 2 and play 4 in Toronto, and they're back in it. And the ALS isn't that good yet. I mean, the Mariners are decent, but
let's not even.
I'm not counting them out yet. So a believer.
What's the point? What's the point of bringing that up?
I don't know. Be positive. I'm always negative, so I'm trying to be positive right now.
But I mean, what is the point of bringing up the division right now? You're not even you got to even think. You got to get back to 500 before you even that. I mean, I'm not trying to get on you, Cody. I'm just saying. But why are we bringing that up?
Well,
it sounds good. That sounds great. Blah 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 blah. You got to get to 500 before you even think about the division.
If you're not at 500,
let's not even worry about the division. Yeah. Get to put your
head down and get to 500.
Right now. If this is business, you got to have attainable goals.
Yeah.
Right, in business and in life, you got to have attainable goals. So right now, I don't need you to be an A student. I need you to become a C student.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll
work to get an A.
Yeah.
We'll work to get an A.
Right.
Right now, we got to work. We got to get you passing.
Yeah.
Because right now, you're not passing.
Yeah, that's true.
When you've lost 9 in a row and you're 22 and 29, you're flunking the class.
Yeah.
We got to get you to a passing grade before we start talking about winning a division, or we're not writing off the division yet. We just did that last week. Where did that get us? Where did that get us?
A 9-game losing streak.
We were bringing on all these players. How's the clubhouse? Everything's fine. We believe. Well, guess what? You've lost 9 in a row.
Yeah.
You got to get to 500. And I'm not that I'm trying to be positive, right? Because we got to do this every day. But I got to be real too.
Yeah.
You got to be real to the fans.
Yeah.
Where are we right now? You just made 11 changes. That means it's bad.
Yeah.
No one's sitting here. No one who's sitting here in first place, or anybody who's 2 games out, who has a legit chance, really, is making 11 changes in a day.
Yeah, and believe me, the guys in that locker room, they're realists too. They know it's bad. I mean, they know 9 games at this point is a real tough place to be, and they got to turn it around fast. And only one way to do it is start tonight and go out and thump somebody.
Yeah, the last 9 games, they've scored 26 runs. They're hitting 209 as a team, a 636 OPS, and they're hitting 145 with runners in scoring position. They're 11 for 76.
During the 9 games?
During the 9-game losing
That's
streak.
tough.
It's not the worst in baseball. The Padres have a smaller sample size, but theirs is worse. But so the A's over the 9 games, a 145 runners in scoring position batting average. It's not great.
I mean,
as a team.
10, 12, 13 guys on every game piles up.
And it had the double-digit walks and everything yesterday, and only scored 5 runs.
5 runs, yeah. Wow. Usually when you have a walk, I'd say 90% of the time that run scores.
That's gone against the Athletics.
I don't know what the league average is, but I know in my career it seemed to score 9 out of 10 times. But
yeah, and the team's been outscored 72-26 during the losing streak. I mean, it's just got to get better. I mean, we can get on the bullpen and the pitching all we want, but the offense hasn't been great either. So they got to hopefully. I mean, you're going up against it. I mean, Wheeler's been He's been 6-1 over his last. He's gone 6+ innings while allowing 2 or fewer runs in 6 straight starts. He's 4-0 with a 1.82 ERA.
He's thrown 16 consecutive scoreless innings.
Wow.
Actually, it hasn't. The offense, could it be better? Yes, but they're scoring 5 runs a game.
Yeah, you should win those games.
Yeah.
You should win those. And the fact that Zach Wheeler, I would look at it this way. He's putting up all these great numbers and 6 games in a row with 2 or less runs?
Yeah.
Okay, he's not going to do that forever. And that's one day closer where that narrative is going to change. Maybe that's tonight. And that's certainly the way I would look at it, because he's not going to continue this run.
Sorry, I'm letting Scott Franzke know we might have to move him because Mason's still in the meeting and they're bringing him over after, so I don't want dueling conflicts.
Yeah, just tell him. Yeah.
Right, so.
It's a tough part of being live, baby.
Yeah. So he's not going to continue this forever. He's going to
you got to adapt or die.
He's going to get thumped. And, everybody does.
Well, Zach Wheeler he's old school.
Yeah.
He's going to give you innings.
He's going to give you innings.
He's not coming out after 5. Yeah.
He's a horse. Yeah. He didn't want to come out. His mentality going into the game is I'm going 9 until you stop me. And he's a horse. That's what he does.
Yeah, the Phillies are 19-5 over the last 24 games, and I'm scoring everyone by 47 runs. So I hate to say it, but get to Wheeler early. I don't think it really matters. No one's getting to Wheeler. No one's getting to Wheeler. He looks like, besides Skubal, he's probably the best pitcher in baseball right now.
Yeah.
Just on the run. In the last couple of years, he's been great. I know our guy, Paul Hembekides from ESPN, loves Zach Wheeler because he's a Phillies fan, but Wheeler has been dominant ever since he came to Philadelphia.
And Zach Wheeler is, like Townie said, he's an old school guy. He attacks the hitter. They say a hitter's got to make the attack. He attacks the hitter, and he's hunting those guys. And that's what you want. So, don't wait around for him to give you a strike. He's going to give you one.
Well, the interesting thing about Wheeler is early in his career with the Mets, he couldn't stay healthy. But since that time, he's been nothing but innings. And Zach Wheeler, I mean, you can say what you want. I mean, he's going to give you 200 innings.
Yes.
I don't know how many other guys.
Not many.
Skubal's great, but,
he probably won't give you 200 innings.
I mean, I'm going to get 200 innings from Wheeler. I mean,
yeah.
Wheeler last year, 200. He gave you 200 innings exactly with a 2.57 ERA and 32 starts. I mean, seriously.
Franzke said so he can come down and do it now if we want, or he said he's good with whatever we want to do.
Oh, this thing with our players is so inconsistent.
Yeah, they're in a meeting, so I mean, I can't. They're
in a meeting. I mean, once again, this is not. they're in the clubhouse right now. They have a bunch of new guys. There's 26 players. They're all looking around at each other, trying to figure out how we can turn this thing around. They're having positive reinforcements. They're the talks, the coaching staff, and everything.
I made the executive decision. I told him to come by, and if Mason comes on, we'll just switch out.
It is what it is right now.
Yeah.
Oh, there's,
and I'm trying to keep it real. I want our fans to really. That's why you watch. Why you listen to the show. That's why you watch the show.
Yeah.
Most shows are going to come on and in baseball, and they're just going to, have pom poms and unicorns and lollipops. And we do that some of the time. That's our job, but it's also our job to be real.
Yeah.
And this is what's going on.
Yeah.
It's kind of the last stand here. You need to make a lot because after this, you're going to have a day off. Then you're going to go to Houston. Then you're going to go to Toronto. You're going to come back. It's Minnesota and Baltimore.
And Baltimore's not playing. I mean, we're looking way far, but Baltimore.
So Baltimore would be the one team you're looking at. No, Toronto's under 500, but I mean, it's
Baltimore got thumped today.
What was it, 19-5? How many hits did your
My
nephew
nephew was 3 for 6 today, so he's getting just a tad under 300.
And your nephew is Nick Sogard?
Nick Sogard, yeah. I'm really, really proud of him. But one thing I wanted to say, going back to what Townie had mentioned, is Zach Wheeler, the way he pitches, the theoretical way of hitting today, where you drown out, you bring him into deep counts, that doesn't work with the old school guys because you're going to be 0-1 every time you come up to bat if you do that. Now, if he gives you a cookie the first pitch, I would hammer that one cookie because you might not get another one. He's going to be, dealing on you. And you can't give him a free strike because he's too good. Why give him a free strike? And that's what I liked about what Nick Kurtz did.
This is why
kind of figured that out
every single time, and that's why it's great to have you here, Steve Sax, is whenever we have callers or we have colleagues around the ballpark who are texting us, they got to take more pitches.
No.
You got to – it's like, do you people understand how hard it is to hit with 2 strikes?
Yes.
Like, Tony Gwynn is like one of the only guys in the history of the game that hit over 300 with 2 strikes.
Yeah.
So you want to sit there and get into 0-1, 1-2, 0-2, you're dead.
No. You know what they will do? They will wipe you out, and they've got 3 weapons to do it. So why do you want to hit with 2 strikes?
But people believe because we all went through this Moneyball thing and take as many pitches as you can, get to the bullpen. They want to get to bullpens now. So taking pitches is not what it used to be.
Can I tell you something about Moneyball? I think it was great. I love the movie. I love the theory because I think some of that works. But the way that you gauge it is how many times did you win the World Series with it? And that answer was it didn't happen. How many times were you at the World Series? It didn't happen. But were the teams better?
But you got to realize,
they were.
What you had got you competitive.
Yes,
right?
That's what I'm saying. Yes, it did.
So that's
it was good.
It took low payroll into being competitive.
Yes, and that is a fact, and it was definitely better for the team.
So Scott Franzke from the Philadelphia Phillies is going to join us right now as we wait on Mason Miller, and fresh off of Colorado. They had a great series
Scott.
in Colorado.
Steve Sax, how are you? Good.
Great to see you.
Chris Townsend, Chris. How we doing? Good.
Turn him up. Michael, turn him up. Well, thank you for coming down. We appreciate it. We got a lot of moving parts. I don't know if you know, we got a lot of things going on right now.
That's what it seems like. It seems like. No, happy to do it. Happy to do it. Good to see you guys.
Well, you guys are riding high right now. I mean, just looking at it, having won 7 in a row, outscoring everybody 41-18, just beating up on the Colorado Rockies. I thought the MLB best 19-3 against teams that are under 500. The Fighting Phils, they're coming into town locked and ready to go.
Yeah, they're playing really good baseball right now in every facet of the game. Late April, they went to New York, played the Mets. Mets were hot. Phillies got swept. And I think they've taken that a little bit personally. And ever since then, they've been on a tear. I think 19-5, something like that. Now again, the Rockies are in a bad way. The 7-game winning streak has come against the Pirates and the Colorado Rockies, but they're taking care of business against teams they're supposed to, supposed to be.
Yeah,
right. I got to ask you. I mean, this team is just dialed in on every facet. I mean. You got what is it? They get like 3 runs and they go and they tap Wheeler or Luzardo or Sanchez and go, there you go, big boy, you're good for the game. You got Romano just knocked down his 6th save in the bullpen. I mean, there's nothing that seems to. There's no blemishes on this team.
Well, I mean, the bullpen got off to a really bad start, and the bullpen has taken a hit. You know, Jose Alvarado,
Right.
the suspension that was announced last weekend. That's a big deal for their bullpen because he was their best reliever without question. But one way to get over a suspect bullpen is to have great starting pitching, and they might have the best starting pitching. 1 to 5 in the game right now.
And you got to think Dave Nabrowski, he's one of my all-time favorites. He was the first GM I ever interviewed back when he was with the Florida Marlins.
Okay.
So I've been doing stuff with him for years. I love him to death. He's the nicest guy, one of the nicest guys in our game. He's going to – there'll be a move to help the bullpen.
He'll try. He'll try. And, they've got a few, prospects now that people are interested in. And so they have some talent that they can deal from. And Dave has never been shy about, trying to do that and trying to – when he's obviously got a team that's supposed to win now. You've got some aging players, in their 30s, and some on expiring contracts. So the idea is to win now. So I have every confidence he'll do everything he can. Now, it always takes two to make a deal, but he'll do everything he can to try to make something happen.
So the Athletics going against Wheeler tonight. Obviously, this guy is at the top of his game. He's a power guy. He's an old school guy. Townie and I were talking about him. I mean, I think the fact that if you try to go out there and work counts on him is a bad thing. This is the kind of guy that's going to fill up the strike zone, and he can wipe you out if he gets 2 strikes on you. Is it better to attack him early?
That's a great question because what he's been doing lately is he will just come out and establish fastball. And, I mean, he will ride fastballs.
Smart.
It's all hard stuff.
Smart.
Until the opposition proves they can handle it, he doesn't really deviate from that. And you'll see, he throws 6 pitches or whatever, so you'll see he's one of those guys where he won't show you everything.
He'll feel the game. He'll feel it.
Right,
Yeah.
and he won't show you everything the first time through the orders. So he's really pitching well, and at his age, I mean, this is a time when a lot of guys start to decline. He doesn't look like he's declining at all. Right?
I'll tell you what, the other day watching the highlights and seeing that it was Kyle Schwarber's 300th career home run, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, you really think about the career that he has had and looking at the numbers of him just destroying left-handed pitching, and think about he's leading off and he's hitting fourth and just all that. Just thinking about his career, and he's going to get another big contract. Just talk about watching him every single day and what just an offensive force he has been.
He has changed his game quite a bit. I mean, the fact that he does what he does against left-handers now, that's a change that started a couple of years ago, really at the start of last year. And now it's to the point where I think opposing managers have to consider maybe, the A's have one lefty in their bullpen right now.
Yeah.
It may not be the smartest idea to use that lefty against Harper Schwarber. I mean, that's the inclination, right?
Yeah.
But
Harper's hot.
Right. You might want to use him against other guys in their lineup, Kepler, Stott, Marsh, when those guys are in there. I think other managers will have to look at it. Kyle does so much for this team, drawing walks, driving in runs, hitting home runs, but he does so much in the clubhouse. He is the guy that keeps everybody together. He is really, from my perspective, he's the guy that sort of leads this club. I mean, there's a lot of really established big-time superstars, but Kyle has this everyman mentality about him that everybody's a part of it, and I think he really brings everybody together.
That's great. We talk about the suspension of Alvarado. Okay, but the one thing about the Phillies is they've got depth all over. Now, is it going to be Romano, or is it going to be by committee that they go and knock these games down in the ninth inning?
It's going to be committee. I mean, Romano and Strom would be your righty-lefty combination. So if there's a matchup that looks better for righty in the 8th, Romano will get the 8th. If it's vice versa, and Strom would pitch the 9th.
Yeah.
Rob Thompson has been doing this for really since he started managing. He spent a lot of years in New York, and he spent a lot of years watching them call Mariano Rivera in from the bullpen. He doesn't have Mariano Rivera. If he did, it'd be a different story.
Yeah.
But he does play matchups, and, whether it was, a couple of years ago, last year was Hoffman, Estevez, Matt Strom. They were all having good years. And this year, whether it's Romano, Strom, or Orion Kerkering, a guy who can get righties and lefties out, those would be the big 3 somewhere in the 7th, 8th, 9th.
Yeah, got it.
Losing Jesus Luzardo was tough. Because I remember just going, he's young, he's good looking, he's got this arm, he just looks like a star, and it's finally coming true. And I see these numbers on the sweeper he's developed is pretty special. But Jesus is a great kid. Just talk about his development, and he's starting to look like that star pitcher for you
Yeah,
guys.
and we've seen him a lot from his days in Miami, so we saw him quite a bit. And he was always that kind of pitcher where you would say, man, if he ever puts it all together, this guy has ace potential. And you're starting to see signs of that he's putting it all together. Now, he still has had some starts where he gets deep into counts, some guys foul balls off on him or whatever, but the sweeper's been a big pitch for him against lefties, a huge pitch for him really against lefties because it gives him a second breaking ball. I just think he has sort of taken to the pitching department here and the things they've tried to implement and get him to do to learn to be a better pitcher all in all. And it's a huge upgrade for the rotation for sure.
I'm a big fan of Bryce Harper. I think the guy's been through a lot. When he was 16 years old, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Sure. He had all these, expectations. He's really lived up to all of them. I mean, I think one of the grossest things I've seen is when baseball players voted him the most overrated player, and then he comes back the next year and just torches everybody. I just think he's a phenomenal player. I mean, what has he extended out in the clubhouse besides just how great he is as a player, on the personal side?
Well, he's
been through a lot.
I mean, he has such a desire to win.
Yeah.
I mean, he has such a competitive spirit. And quite frankly, he probably puts a little too much on himself. I mean, he wears it not only for his teammates, himself, the city of Philadelphia. I mean, it really matters to him, and you can feel that. And I think maybe sometimes the Phillies, we as a fan base, sometimes we might say, he's not having the best year. He's not this, he's not that. The guy's putting up numbers. He always figures it out. He'll go through ups and downs like any ball player will, but he always figures it out. And he's been doing that the last couple of weeks. Everybody's crediting his haircut for getting him jump-started again, which who knows, whatever it is.
Whatever it takes, right?
But he's gotten jump-started again. So I just think sometimes we can take for granted a player who's set the bar that high.
Yes.
And we expect an MVP season every single year. That doesn't happen.
Nope.
But he's really, really good.
I'll take Bryce Harper any day of the week.
Absolutely.
The fact, the way he reps the city and he takes ownership of that is something special. You guys are real lucky to have him. A lot of good things. Super Bowl, Phillies, things are rolling, so things are good in Philly. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time. We truly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Good to see you guys.
Enjoy the series.
All right, sounds good.
Coming up next, Mason Miller is on his way to join us right here on A's Cast Live.
Here's the pitch, and it's a hit. Folsom Lake Ford has stepped up again, winning the Triple Crown Award, Ford Motor Company's highest honor, now 7 years in a row. Folsom Lake Ford is a top sales leader in the U.S., along with being top in customer satisfaction in sales, service, and finance. Now that's a home run. Don't miss the huge savings on your favorite models at your truck headquarters. Folsom Lake Ford in the Folsom Auto Mall.
A's catcher Shea Langoliers sat down at Townie on A's Cast Live to share the unique story behind his name.
My dad was a Mets fan growing up because my grandpa was a Yankees fan, so they had that natural going against each other. My dad was born in 1969, the 69 Mets. He graduated high school in 86, the 86 Mets. So he just kind of had that connection to him, and that's kind of how it happened.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
And here's the pitch to Tyler. Swung on, drilled to right, way back. Martini at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
That swung on, drive to deep right field. Going back, Palacios, and it is gone.
2 payoff pitch, and Soderstrom launches this one to deep right. Taylor back, it is gone, and Soderstrom has done it again.
A's shortstop Jacob Wilson joined Townie on A's Cast Live to break down his approach at the plate with runners in scoring position.
I kind of just go up there and I trust my hand-eye coordination, be able to go up there, look for a strike, and knowing that if I swing, be able to put the ball in play, something that I work on a lot, and right there in the situations with 2 strikes, all you really got to do is put the ball in play and find the hole, and then good things can happen. Even right there, you hit a ball right at someone, they bobble it, the guy scores. Like you put the ball in play, you put pressure on the defense. So for me, it's just being able to put, obviously put the pressure on the defense and trying to find as many holes as I can, try and score runs. And, I love hitting the situations, love hitting the runners in scoring position. Anything I can do to, put runs on the board and overall win the game. That's kind of why we play the sport, is get wins. And, last night one was pretty special.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast. Calling all college and grad students. Grab your friends and head to the ballpark with this special offer. Save up to 50% off select regular season games throughout the 2025 season. Get your discounted tickets at athletics.com/student.
Streaming from West Sacramento, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Well, it is always a treat to have the All-Star on. Mason Miller, the closer for the Athletics, one of the most dynamic pitchers in all of baseball. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and act like today's a great day. I mean, obviously, it's been a very interesting day. What's it been for you guys? There's been 11 transactions and a lot going on in that clubhouse.
Yeah, there has been. I mean, there's been struggles this last stretch here, and that's no secret to us either. But it is a blessing every day you get to show up to the yard and play baseball. So that's the approach I'm taking, and happy for the guys that are getting the opportunity to be here, and I know they're excited. So this thing's going to turn around at some point, and we're going to be ready to start the ball rolling the other way when it does.
Yeah, what I like about, nobody likes the losing streak. Every team goes through it, though. But the culture of the team is solid, and that's unbreakable. And I think that's what's great. That's going to really transcend a lot of these down times and supersede the times where you're going bad. Is you guys have a great culture in that clubhouse.
We do, yeah, and that is a huge part of us getting out of this. It's not going to be one guy. Rook might hit 3 home runs, and we might win the game because of him that day. But it takes a team effort, defense, pitching, to get us into the clubhouse with a win. So, just the culture we have, the team we have, just supporting each other through successes and failures, I think is an important thing to have. For a young team like us, that's going to be the key.
Earlier today, I saw TJ McFarland bring a lot of the pitchers together and had a conversation. Guys that have been here like yourself and TJ McFarland, you mentioned Rooker. I know Rooker gave a speech in San Francisco. How important is it for you guys, kind of the guys that have been here and been leaders, to help out these new players that are coming in?
I think it's just bringing everybody together. It's easy to suffer in silence sometimes. You don't get the job done. Myself especially, it's like don't get the job done. A lot of times we lose. So just being able to pick guys up and be approachable and still have conversations even about those times that you don't get the job done. You just want to push that to the back burner. That's the instinct. Try and turn the page as fast as possible. But there's a lot of lessons to learn. I kind of try to look at it as I don't want to make the same mistake twice. I want to make it once. I want to learn from it. And, if I'm going to get beat, it's going to be a different way the next time.
Yeah. Mason, we hear a lot about Luis Severino, how he really is kind of an extension of that coaching staff. He's a solid force on your team. He was trying to, jettison this moniker of, he can't pitch in Sacramento. We all know he can. And boy, he certainly did yesterday. How big of a help has he been for you guys as a player, to kind of somebody to lean into a bit?
Yeah, having a guy like that, a guy like Sevy with the experience he has, just his personality and, the type of teammate and leader he is, kind of can't even put it into words how important that's been for us, as we look to take that next step. It's just always taking the ball on the 5th day and giving us 100 pitches, everything he's got every single time, regardless if it's good, bad, here on the road. He's taking the ball and he's giving us his best. So we know we get a pretty good chance to win when he's going to pitch.
Yep.
The Phillies come in. They have the best record in the National League. Tonight's game is going to be on MLB Network, so it's going to be shown nationally. So when you get ready for one of these games and you're thinking about that 9th inning, and there's Schwarber and there's Harper and Castellanos, do you start getting like the juices flowing early? You start thinking about I'm going up against the best tonight, and they're going to get my best.
I think in order to be a successful big leaguer, you have to have that. You want to be facing the best, but you also have to look at yourself as somebody that's going to compete in those situations. For me, I try to just look at it, any chance I get to pitch, important. Getting us a win, getting into the clubhouse. That's kind of how I approach it. But obviously when the lights are a little brighter, guys you grew up watching, things like that, for a player that's still young in his career like me, you kind of relish the opportunity to go out there and face guys like that.
Love it. Now, with the way you throw, as hard as you throw, hitters, they try to just dial that thing up, right? So my question is, how do you approach them? Do you get that mentality, well, you go ahead and just try to hit this, or do you try to more hit, the edges of the plate sometimes, or is you just rely on that off-speed pitch, your slider, to kind of take care of that for you? How much you just don't care, and I'm going to just hit the plate and see if they can hit it?
I think there's some days you kind of gauge it pretty fast. If I had the heaters really, really good today, in San Francisco, ended up not going great, but I had the heater. The heater felt really good, and I was just barreling ahead with it. But it's always important to mix, always important to locate. So I think just having a plan, regardless of who's in there. I think certain hitters have bigger holes than others, but everybody has something that you can go after, and guys like that, sometimes it's just you get beat on something that you think is their weaker area. But that's always going to be the plan. Is just have a plan going in, and execute plan is the main goal.
Being a former starter, you've got multiple pitches, and I know we talked to you about starting to utilize the changeup. When we've seen it this year, it's been such a weapon. What's that like when you bust that out? Because a lot of hitters haven't seen that from you yet.
Yeah, it's kind of been by purpose, I guess, trying to keep it in the back pocket a little bit. I would have liked to keep it a little longer, but lefties have had more success this year than they have historically against me. So I think just showing that pitch a little bit more, getting it in the report, getting them thinking about it, and at the end of the day, I've always talked about how my fastball makes my slider better. My slider makes my fastball better. It's just meshing all those together, and the changeup certainly will help the others play up.
Yeah. When I played, I had more at-bats against Nolan Ryan than any other pitcher in baseball. And when he developed that split finger, he now went from a guy that was almost impossible to hit. And I saw you throw that changeup one day when one of your outings, and I thought, what the heck was that? This guy's throwing 104 and he busts a changeup out now. Are you going to implement that pitch more? Because let me tell you, a well-placed fastball, best pitch in baseball. You throw a changeup coming out of that same window and you have a discrepancy of 15 miles an hour, that's the second best pitch, believe me.
Yeah, it's a matter of commanding it for sure.
Right.
Being in the zone, not wasting a pitch. And for me, I take a lot of pride in I'm really happy with the way that my slider and my fastball play off each other. Yeah. So sometimes it is a little difficult to say, no, I'm going to throw a changeup here, especially if Shea's calling the game. I like to trust what he's calling sometimes too.
Sure.
I think we have a good relationship with that. But, just having an instance where it's like fastball, it's like, yeah, I like that pitch.
Yeah.
And I almost have to have a plan going into it at bat that I want to get the changeup in.
Yeah.
Just because I like my other offerings so much.
Sure.
When the team goes through a tough stretch like this, and obviously you're going to be used in winning situations, and you have been used, like you haven't pitched since Saturday in San Francisco, what's the key for you staying sharp when you're not getting into a lot of games?
I think fortunately, I go about my business in a way that I'm going to pitch every single day. So that's catch play. I haven't pitched in a game, but I've thrown off the mound several times, either getting ready for a game or after a game, just trying to stay as close to sharp. There's no substitute for pitching in a game and the way that your stuff plays and having a hitter in the box, but just kind of simulating that, trying to visualize things. And ultimately when you go out there, it's kind of for us like riding a bike sometimes. So you just kind of hope that you go out there and everything slots in and gets back to where it needs to be.
Mason MacGyver is now up, and what is your, the relationship there with him, and how do you guys kind of work together? How do you feel working with him?
I actually haven't really thrown to him a whole lot, but just personality-wise, he's awesome. Great guy to have around, and so I think that's such a valuable trait for a catcher to have.
Yes,
and Shea certainly has that as well. Just the relationships he's able to build and quickly with pitchers and just kind of that trust that you guys have with each other. So I think it's going to be great.
Good.
You still have a lot of young guys down there in the bullpen in their careers. How much are you trying to help everybody? You guys are probably all helping each other, but for the most part, you've seen some guys have some really good runs and then they'll have a little bit of a blow up. How much are you trying to help all these guys through all this?
Yeah, I think we're all there for each other, and that's what's important in a bullpen is, we're a tight-knit group and we pick each other up. And a lot of the times, you maybe want to finish the inning, but sometimes it's stressing that other guy coming in behind you. Everybody's had stints this year where they've been really, really good. And for a lot of us, it's been one game that has kind of been left sitting on our minds. So just the sooner we're able to turn the page to, getting back to feeling comfortable, successful, and confident. And the only way you're going to do that is by going out and doing it. So that's just what it's kind of come down to is, let the pressure and the stress kind of relax a little bit. Just go out there and pitch like the way we all know each other can.
Yeah, I would look at the situation now. It's been tough lately. You got the 9 games, but you know what? It's going to end soon. But what better way to do it than to beat one of the best teams of baseball in the Phillies and go out and put a three down on this team?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that be a great feeling to say, hey, man, we just took on the best team in baseball and gave them a thumping and ended the streak. That's the best team to do it with.
Yeah, we'll start with 1 before we start worrying about 3.
Exactly,
but,
I know.
That's,
See,
that's any
we
given
can
day.
look forward.
You
guys can't.
Yeah, any given day. Yeah, it's each day's new opportunity and new variables, and anything can happen. That's the beauty of baseball.
Yeah.
Sitting back watching some of the young guys, want to get your opinions, watching what you're seeing with Jacob Wilson every single day. Now we're starting to see what Nick Kurtz is starting to figure out. What's it like watching these young hitters?
We know that it's in there, and we tell them that all the time too. It's easy when things are going well and things just slot into place, but when you go through those struggles, it's sometimes just that little reminder from a teammate that we know what you can do, and I know you want to do well, but just relax and just trust yourself, trust yourself. Just go out there and have good at bats. So seeing Nick to start to turn the corner a little bit, get into his power stroke again, and just see the confidence that he has, even on his face and shoulders as he steps in the box is great. And then Willie's been a rock star for us all year. Defense,
it's a hitting machine.
He is.
He sure is. And Jacob Wilson, I mean, he almost overshadows himself defensively because he's so darn good offensively. But I think you'd probably relish the fact that you have a guy that can really pick it behind you like him. I think he's underrated defensively. This guy should be talked about much more than he is for his glove because he can pick it.
Yeah. I think out of the gate, it's just adjusting to that big league grind every day.
Yeah.
I think he's starting to feel really, really comfortable with that and play with a lot of confidence, in the field too. And, we kind of already knew that. Yeah. We knew he was in there and allowing some of that acclimation and adjustment. And now he's really playing really confidently out there, right. With guys running to first base, how much time he has, things like that. Just the things that you pick up as you play. We're super confident having him out there every day.
Good. Let's end on this. What was the message today? We got the message from Mark Kotsay here. We're going to play the Mark Kotsay show coming up in just a few minutes. What was the message you guys got from Mark Kotsay?
I didn't have a sit down necessarily with him. I think he's in there with the hitters right now. But just in talking to our bullpen coach, Hubby and Emo, just trust that this is going to turn around and keep doing things right, keep doing things the way we did early in the year. Don't get out of your routine just because it's not working right now. Sometimes that's all you have is leaning into that routine and trusting that the ball's going to bounce our way at a certain point. So we're just going to keep continuing to put ourselves in good situations and know that at a certain point we're gonna be the other team that's rolling.
Hey, we always appreciate when you come out here on A's Cast Live. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the fans. Yeah. Can't wait to see you in this series.
All right.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mason. The great Mason Miller, the All-Star right here on A's Cast Live. And that confrontation, can't wait to see it, like a Schwarber, a Harper going up against Mason Miller as he is the man. And we're going to have Darrell Taylor on. We're going to have him now. Darrell Taylor is going to be throwing out the first pitch today. 15 seasons on MTV's The Challenge. What was the show he was on?
The Challenge.
It was The Challenge. Yeah. He was the 4-time champion, 6-time finalist. Darrell, how you doing? Chris Townsend. So now as a 4-time champion, that means there's going to be a lot of expectations for you tonight, throwing that ball right down the middle. You ready to go for that first pitch?
All good, man. I might even wind up.
You going to get to the top of the mound?
You going to the rubber, or you going to be in front?
I used to be a pitcher, man. I pitched in Babe Ruth, and I got kicked out of 3 games. They called me Wild Thing, and that was my favorite movie.
So you're bringing it.
Oh, I'm bringing it.
Oh, I love it.
I'm bringing it.
What are you topping out at, Darrell? What are you topping out at? What miles per hour?
That's a very good question. I don't want to throw my arm out, so I'll probably top out at about 60.
Okay,
maybe 45.
So how many seasons were you on MTV?
Ooh. I've been on, I want to say 15. But they also did the ones that they did, the All-Stars, which was on Paramount.
15 years.
Challenges,
wow.
Yes.
That is a long. That's a full-on, like, longer than like Cheers or Seinfeld run on television.
When I first got on was in 2002. That was my Road Rule season. And then to find out that I'm still doing this 20 years later is pretty crazy.
What is that like?
It's a little side time gig. It's my college experience. You know, you get to get sent off somewhere beautiful, put you in a nice house.
Yeah.
It is Martha Stewart prison because they tell you when to eat, sleep, and hurry up and wait. No TVs, no communication. We get about like maybe 2 calls, if that, 10-minute calls a week.
Wow.
No television, so we're cut off from all that. But it is mentally draining when you're there for about 10 weeks.
And the cameras are on you.
24/7. They're everywhere. In the
Do you think
bathrooms, everywhere.
is there ever a point where because I've always thought that when you watch those shows and you know that they're watching every month, is there ever a point where you forget, or do you just know constantly you are being watched?
I know I'm being watched. I don't forget. I know those cameras are there. You try not to like worry about the cameras though, because you're there to film a show, but you get used to it, man. You get used to it.
Darrell, how old were you when you won the Gold Gloves in San Francisco? Now that's a big area.
Yes.
So that's a lot of competition there.
Yes, I was 22 years old.
Okay.
22 years old. And I
You're
remember
light heavyweight, so you were 180 pounds?
178.
178. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So actually, no. Yes, that one I was 178. So when I first did the gloves, I got second place. I was at 165. So that was actually in 2000.
Super middleweight.
Yeah. So that was actually probably 23 because I won it the next year.
Got it. Great.
Because I lost.
Now, do you hook like this, or do you hook palm down?
I do both, but mine mainly here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Short. Palm down when you're close, and
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. It's great.
So
I love
how
boxing.
far did your boxing career go?
Well, I thought I was going to continue to do boxing, and then I got onto the show, and then it kind of
Became a reality star.
Yeah, like that easy
That's
money.
a lot better, huh?
Yeah, easy money.
Yeah.
Big checks and a celebrity barely getting hit in the face.
And then I won 4 in a row, so I was like, do I really need? Then doing all these gigs and college tours and bar appearances, so I got sidetracked a little bit. So I continued, and then I finished at 9-6. And I was like, you know what? I'm not really taking this serious anymore. I'm over here drinking and fighting the next day. You know, like who does that? Like,
You must have been darn good to do that,
Not
buddy.
a lot, but still, you shouldn't be doing that.
No,
you know, just amateur. I'm like, oh, I'm fine.
But if you would have took it serious, where do you think?
Oh,
you
I
ever,
would've-
you ever think back?
Yes, and now now that you said that, it's funny. I just reached out to Misfits, and I'm trying to get in with them and hopefully have something cooking by the end of the year.
Great.
Yeah, so I just got back to because I do have a gym, but I usually do boxing and weights. But I've been cutting the weights out and just going back to my skipping rope for 3-4 rounds, shadow box for 10, hit the bag for 6, and finish out with the speed bag. Yeah,
That's a lot. Yeah. So a lot of people don't realize that when what do you call that? The tea bag?
Speed bag.
Speed bag.
Yeah,
Speed
yeah.
bag. I'm sorry. They think, that's good for your hand coordination, but it's really for your shoulders.
Yeah, it's conditioned. You do it at the very end, and your shoulders
tough.
are fried. Yeah,
That's it. They are fried. It's a tough workout. Yeah, that's great.
So it's going to be a special day today. Got the family. What do you got out here today with you?
Yeah, I got my wife. I got my beautiful 2 kids,
Oh, that's
Zayden
cute.
and
That's
Amaya.
great.
We got a freshman going to be a sophomore, and we got a junior high schooler.
Wow.
Volleyball. They both play volleyball, and he plays basketball.
That's great. Good for you.
So that's a little bit crazy when you're locked in the house.
Oh, my God. All we are Uber drivers now. You know, these kids these days, they
Yeah.
play year-round. So it's not like when we were little, we had to ride our bike to practices.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Now
absolutely.
we got to pick them up, drive them here, drive them there. Oh, it's a lot.
And you live here in Sacramento?
Yeah, I live in Elk Grove.
Okay.
Elk Grove.
I found out one thing when raising my kids that we were just you get a certain age, kind of like that you're a taxi in a bank.
Yeah,
And
right?
then
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
we're all right, Darrell?
Exactly,
You gotta
yeah,
take
yeah.
them someplace. I need some money for this and money for that. But it's great when they with going through all their time when they grow up, and my kids are grown now. It's just the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah,
It really is.
I got mad the other day because my wife asked me to take my daughter to school, and normally I didn't have to. And I was like, oh, what? And then I started realizing she's going to be driving next year. I'm not going to get these days back, so I better enjoy it while it's here. You know, we
Yes,
never appreciate
yes.
something until
Right.
it's gone.
Absolutely right.
You know, when
You
she
got
starts
that.
driving to school, and then I'm like, man, I
Got
wish I
that
could
right.
just drive her to school. No,
Yeah.
I got my own car, Dad. Right?
God, that's right.
So how many more years you thinking about doing reality TV?
Man, you know, with the challenge, I probably only got a couple more. Like I said, the kids are getting older. It's hard for me to
Yeah.
leave that long, especially for my daughter too. She's in her teenage years, high school,
Yeah.
and it's fun watching her play volleyball, man. I always tell her, oh, you can't do this. You should work on this. And she surprises me every year.
Yeah.
She gets that much better. And I'm not just saying it
great.
because my kid, but she has a good work ethic, and I love seeing her grow. So
great.
I probably it's all about timing, I think, with them when they call. As long as it's not volleyball season, I'm in there.
What? How many of the kids? at her school are saying, I want your dad's autograph, and your dad's this. Oh, I saw your dad on TV. How often does that happen?
It happens a little. They're pretty cool, though. They're pretty cool about it. It was pretty fun. With the club team, the volleyball, I was able to do their strength and conditioning. They would come see me all the different grades once a week.
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
So
And then I get to go. Then I go watch them play at these tournaments, and I'm like, oh, I bet you that girl's going to be good. She annoys me because she is so lazy, but she's really good on the court.
Yeah.
It's crazy how at that age when they're like in the 9th grade, some are just lazy, but they're great athletes.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
All right, well, good luck tonight throwing out the first pitch. We'll be rooting for you.
All right, man. Thanks.
All right,
Thanks
Darrell. Nice to meet you, buddy.
You too, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, earlier today, we were able to sit down with Mark Kotsay for the Mark Kotsay Show. For the Mark Kotsay Show, brought to you by Folsom Lake Ford. A busy day for you, Mark. Obviously, a tough one, but some changes need to be made. You talked about that, and you guys made those changes.
Yeah, we did, and we talked about this coming out of spring training, the level of expectation, not only from the players' side, but from our side, and going out and competing to win. And, we're in a tough stretch. There's no question about that. We obviously know that, we're not as bad as we're playing right now. We played really good baseball to start the season, and we're going through a tough stretch, and we decided to make some changes with the roster. And today was that day that we moved forward.
When you make changes like this, what is the message does that send also to the guys that are still here in the clubhouse?
Well, I think everybody understands. I mean, you look at the individuals that were a part of that move, and you assess performance, obviously, and you try to, make a decision as to whether or not you're doing benefit for the player to keep them here or to send them back and to bring someone up from AAA that's actually performing down there and can energize this ball club and maybe change the attitude that's in that clubhouse right now. But that's really my job. My job is to keep these guys going forward, right, and to keep them focused on their routines and to continue to try to maintain the confidence and remind them that, hey, we were a ball club at one point where we were 20-16 and we lost a game to the division leaders to actually play for, to be in first place. So there is that potential. We've all seen it. We've played to it. We just got to get back there.
Yeah. And I mean, Mark, as you know, every team is going to go through stretches like this. It gets a little bit highlighted because it's early on. We're still in May, but this team is just stacked with talent, with potential. We don't know where the ceiling is for this team, which is a great thing. A couple of the things that happened today in the changeover, paraded down, MacGyver up. I know 389 in AAA. How does he catch and throw, and how do you assess the new catcher?
Yeah, that's great. I love that you mentioned him. This was a kid that came to us from the Rockies. A good friend of mine, former manager of the Rockies, Bud Black, and bench coach Mike Redmond, who I know very well, raved about this kid. And obviously he didn't get an opportunity with Colorado to crack the big leagues, but all the intangibles are there. And what you look for in a backup catcher are those intangibles. And he's a high energy, spirited guy. I mean, if you watch him handle the pitchers, he's all in with these guys. And not only did he swing the bat well in AAA to deserve this promotion, like you said, he hit 389. He kind of hit his way here. But he's not that offensive-minded catcher that you think about. I think he's got the intangibles to call a great game, to really build relationships with these guys in the bullpen and the starters. And I think you'll see that as he gets the opportunity to go back there behind the plate.
All right, you want excitement? I'm going to give you excitement right now because Denzel Clark, his agent is a guy I played college baseball with, Mark O'Brien. And I've heard a lot about him, about how great of an athlete he is. So we had Ed Sprague on. And I said, Ed Sprague, give me a comp for Denzel Clark athletically. And he goes, I'll give you a comp, Bo Jackson.
Whoa. Wow.
So
that wouldn't come to my mind because they're different body types, but they're athletes. You're right. Wow. My comp for baseball, and not that Bo wasn't a great baseball player. I mean, two-sport athlete, which Denzel could probably go do that as well. Ooh. But you'll know this player, Devon White.
Oh, yeah. Devo. Oh, wow.
And when you look out there, you see long gazelle, long leg, athlete.
Stronger than you think.
Yes, and that's Denzel. Denzel is as strong as anyone in that clubhouse. Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing for us with Denzel, we have to let him go play. We have to, watch his, offense in terms of, the growth, right, and be patient with that. This is, again, we talk about where we're at as an organization. Expectation to win, but balancing the development of the young player and the growth, right? And that's ultimately that falls on my shoulders. Today we made a move with one of our very talented players who went down for Denzel to come up, which is JJ Bleday. JJ Bleday, this player, did a tremendous amount last year for us, and he had a great year.
Yeah.
And it's tough when you send that type of player back to AAA. It's a tough adjustment.
How tough was that conversation?
It's really tough. I thought about it all night. I actually, you guys know I live downtown. I left my car here. I walked home. Home, went through Old Sac, went to the arcade, the pinball machine arcade. Just, I needed something to distract, but also to let myself digest what these changes all meant, right? And that conversation with JJ today was one of the more difficult ones. But he understands, where he's at, the adjustments he's trying to make, that he knows that he's confident in now. And he goes back to AAA. My belief is that he's going to go back there and have a dominant performance, very similar to what we saw in Seth Brown last year, very similar to what we saw in Lawrence Butler, Tyler Soderstrom. It's a reset time, and it's a reset to go get your confidence back and come back and help us win.
I mean, I can't imagine those conversations, and either the toughest ones when you have to actually tell somebody they're not going to be here anymore. The human element of that about being a manager has got to be really excruciating at times. I can only imagine. But I wanted to ask you about another player, Logan Davidson. Now, he's a guy that's been around a while. I think he's a pretty big guy from what I've heard. He was the top draft choice. He used to be a shortstop, now a super utility.
Yep.
How does he fit in here? And these guys are becoming more valuable, aren't they, Mark? As time goes on, they come to spring training with 2 or 3 gloves now.
Yeah, it's great. Right. It does give you as a manager the flexibility to make late inning decisions. That could impact a game. It gives the roster some flexibility to give guys days off, to be able to improve our defense. And for Logan, he's spent a lot of time working, tirelessly to get this opportunity. Mm-hmm. So that conversation is one that is fun. It feels good when you had 2 years of conversation coming out of spring training about what he needed to do to become a big leaguer. And every step of the way, Logan has accomplished that. This year, the biggest theme for me, in terms of his growth was, hey, let's cut your strikeouts down. Let's increase your walk percentage. Mm-hmm. What did he do? He went down and cut his strikeouts down. He increased his walk percentage. Last year it was, hey, you need to impact the baseball. His exit velos went from, at league average to above league average. So this was very rewarding to give this opportunity to Logan to come up here and help our club.
We did his first interview when he was drafted out of Clemson in 2019. It was a long time ago. Yeah. So it's a great story. Those are things that, self drafted in the first round, 17 years in the big leagues. You know how hard it was to get there. You got there pretty quick, though. For a guy who was also for a first round, to be in the minor leagues that long and to finally make it is rare.
It is rare. I think you're right. And it just shows the perseverance that this young man, went through, that he has, that the grit that he has to just, never give up, to not continue to pursue his dream, which was to be a big leaguer. And today he's a big leaguer.
Yeah. Hey, these new guys that are coming up, naturally they know everybody from spring training and all that. But I mean, how tough is it? I don't think it's going to be tough, but just wanted to get your assessment on how that transfer is going to be when they walk into that clubhouse. It's nice that they're welcomed on the team, but at the same time, in flux here is we got to go out and win ball games. And how does that all kind of meld together when they first get here?
Yeah,
I mean, do you have leaders that do that? Is it all your job? How does that work?
It's definitely lies on my shoulders for the most part. But as you said, the message in spring training from day one, before we, got the, position player, the first day of position players and catchers, right?
Yeah.
My message was it's going to take an army to win this season.
Yep.
And you're sitting in this room, you're going to have an opportunity to impact this baseball team. So let's start with building relationships.
Great.
And I think that's what happened in spring training. So the second these guys walked in that door this afternoon, I watched guys give hugs. I watched guys, interact with big smiles. The first day, you walk in a clubhouse as a young player, you're going to take some crap, right?
Yeah.
And Denzel for sure got on the training table. Normal routine for him, probably in AAA, but it's his first day in the big leagues.
Oh boy!
And who other than Lawrence Butler is there to shoot a picture of him on the training table? Make sure he knows that's not where you belong in your first day.
Great.
I think he even sent it out on Instagram.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, that showed the bond.
Gotta have that. Gotta have that stuff.
Exactly.
How nice was it, Luis Severino, to have a good outing here at this ballpark after everything you guys had talked about?
No, it was great. It was great for him to go out. On Monday, he threw a bullpen on the game mound on the field. He walked off there, felt like he understood. I think the angles that this ballpark presents are a little bit different. There's a tunnel behind home plate that's angled a little bit different that makes the view for Luis a little bit off, and I think that impacted his command, and he ironed it out on Monday, and you saw a great performance from him yesterday. It's just unfortunate that we couldn't close the game out for him.
And also Jeffrey Springs, wow. Just talk about what you've seen from him in May. He has been fantastic.
He really has. I think we see a change in his aggression, his ability to go attack hitters with the fastball, make them uncomfortable inside. It's opened up the plate for him, and he's getting more swing and miss on his changeup than he did early in the season.
Mark, you mentioned attack mode. I saw a difference. I saw a complete change in approach with Nick Kurtz. He's not waiting around to go deep in counts. He knows these guys in the big leagues are going to challenge him and you see what you got. And he answered back. He's hit a couple of home runs now. He's lining ball. He's starting to spin on some balls now. I love what I'm seeing out of Nick Kurtz.
Yeah, we did a deep dive on Nick over the weekend before this Angel series. And, the biggest thing that jumped out was he was hitting with 2 strikes too often. And I think, we identified that. We talked to this young hitter, but we know how mature he is. We know how advanced he is in his approach. And he made the adjustment. And the adjustments and the results showed up, which shows the confidence that he has and the collective work that we did. Just the communication process. It translated into results, which is always nice.
Yeah, and great for his confidence.
Yeah.
Let's end on this, and you said it earlier, and I want everybody just to remember where we are. Yes, there are the expectations, but there also is a lot of development too. It's an interesting process that this team's in. It will change as time goes, and more of the younger players that are coming up, guys that are coming from AAA and AA. But there are the expectations to win. But yes, there also is development going on here at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that today shows some of that. And I hold myself accountable with the JJ. Not necessarily failure, but maybe the start to the season in terms of, my job as the manager of this ball club and my coach's job is to progress these young players, to get them better and better and better. And when you see regression, that's ultimately, yes, it's a player's responsibility, but it's also my responsibility to help them through that regression. And I think, today was a step that we took. It's not easy. It's never easy to tell a young player that he's got to go back to AAA to rebuild, to allow these changes in his swing, to come to fruition and have success. So ultimately, at the end of the day, you're right, Tony. We're going to continue to try to improve this ball club. The last 2 years, we've allowed these guys to go through that failure, to extend their failure, to be able to get through it. And right now, you saw a shorter timeline in that process. And that means that we are, doing things to obviously improve on a daily basis to win, but we also recognize that the group that we have to win with is my responsibility to continue to progress them and develop them and get them to be the best baseball player they can be now and going forward.
That's the Mark Kotsay Show, and it's brought to you by Folsom Lake Ford.
For just $25, fans can sit in the general admission outfield grass for all regular season home games. Tickets for that day's game will open up daily at 9 a.m. for purchase at athletics.com/lawn. Sign up to receive A's alerts to receive a text the first morning of each home series as a reminder. For more information, visit athletics.com/lawn. This has been a presentation